Liberal pirates stealing ships in California, new brazen crime wave. Oh, literal pirates. Literally, we've got pirates in Oakland stealing boats, holding people up at gunpoint. It's a whole new level of criminal activity. Let's get into it. Here we go. Liberal pirates. Could be a thing. Let's get you guys the story here. The pirates seen ransacking boats or taking advantage of slow response times from police. Did Oakland defund the police? Yeah, they did. Yeah. Do you think that might be impacting something here? I don't know. It's just a thought. What isn't impacting Oakland from a criminal activity level? They have had some off the chart stuff go on, right? Every time I turn around, I'm like, oh, Oakland. Oh, good Lord. Wow. Not good. To the point where the NAACP is really calling out leadership in Oakland and basically stating, you need to get a bunch of cops in here. You need to do this. You need to bring the feds in. You need to do this. They got a 10-point plan. None of it's actionable, but you know what? You got to reimagine and rethink, right? And just kind of keep going down that hamster wheel of thought process. A marina in Northern California is dealing with a very specific type of crime wave. Pirates. I love a good pirate story. I love the whole pirate history because they're just, a bunch of renegades. They were working for the country's navy and then they became a pirate. And, you got all these varying classes of pirates and all this lore and the history of it. I find pirates, I've done a lot of study on pirates. I think, super fun. A lot of it's just nonsense too, right? It's just stuff that's made up that we believe over time. Well, it might not have been true. I love those kind of things. Locals with their boats docked at the Oakland Marina say the police have little help as pirates steal from their vessels and the boats themselves. Let's take a little look, see it. I got a little clip here for you. I think it's pretty good.
Stephen Young outfitted his boat, the Bay Escape, to serve as a survival craft in case of a large earthquake or disaster. But that plan was sunk recently when thieves stole the 40-foot yacht from its slip at the Embarcadero Cove Marina. They spotted it a few days later stuck on some nearby rocks with people still aboard, so Young called the police.
Well, I told them somebody's on the boat and they're moving the boat as we speak. Can you just go down and impound it? Couldn't do that. We need a police report first.
Young says the police never came. He says it wasn't until days later when the insurance company called them that the boat was recovered, and by then it was too late.
What they did to the boat was just unbelievable. They normally you expect them to take the dinghy and your liquor and stuff like that, but they took the fishing poles, they took the fighting chairs, they took the barbecue pits, and everything they didn't take, they destroyed.
They stole GPS equipment, bilge pumps, engine parts, and 3 handguns with ammunition. Closet doors were torn off and every compartment was trashed. They also found a number of hypodermic needles and the message, "I love Jesse," scrawled in bleach on the couch cushions. The insurance company says the boat is a total loss, but it's not the only one. 2 other large boats were stolen in the same week.
So you get the idea of what's going on. I mean, it's basically a free-for-all, and this is drug-related, right? Not shocking. What I found interesting is I looked at another couple of stories on Oakland and boats and how boat owners in Oakland are armed. They're literally all armed. And, here in the Pacific Northwest, we just don't have that, right? We don't have that on the water. I always say tents don't float. And then that's why I spend a lot of my time on the water in Seattle, because you just don't have that element. But, down in Oakland, things are escalating to a whole nother level. You've already wiped out all your local neighborhoods, right? You've got crime just raging, shootings, homicides, you name it going on. Stores just being jacked. So what's left? Well, I mean, if you're, criminal and if you're a drug addict, you got to adapt to your current environment. And that means going on boats. Doesn't surprise me because you've only got, usually law enforcement is fairly limited on the water because there's just not that much in the way of, public safety that needs to be addressed. You got a handful of boats for a big community, you can usually handle it, right? But here in Oakland, they got one boat essentially to cover all this. So the criminals know that the response time is just going to be, yeah. Young was not the only reported victim of pirates that week either. 2 other large boats were stolen. Michael West, who lives aboard a ship docked in Oakland, told CBS News that the area has turned into a Wild West. We keep hearing that. Wild West. It's like the Wild West, because that's what we have in our minds, because we've grown up watching all of the Wild West shows where there was a certain element of lawlessness. I think we are way beyond the lawlessness that we saw in the Wild West in Hollywood coming out of the whatever era that was. There's a Beastie Boys song that talks about the High Plains Drifter. Oh, I love that movie. That was such a great movie. Clint Eastwood, that guy back in his day, he was the man, right? Only to be, you got Charles Bronson. Oh, that guy laid some law down, right? I mean, just, all right, yeah, this is what we're doing. You impact my family, I'm going to take your life. That's just what he did, right? Someone in this marina had to defend themselves with guns against the pirates, and that's where it is right now, West said. Everybody here has a gun or knife or a sword or a stick or something, to protect themselves. This guy is talking about people on boats in a marina. Typically, if you look at historically at the levels of criminal activity in marinas, there isn't much because tents don't float. But now you've got this, emerging economy. Hey, they got stuff on their boats. Let's go jack them. And if we need to, we'll steal their guns and whatnot. San Francisco Chronicle shared the story of Jonathan DeLong, who says he was sleeping in his sailboat at Oakland's Jack London Square when he was awoken by some noises. 2 pirates, a man and a woman, were reportedly attempting to board his vessel. DeLong says he's chased the pirates away that night, but he's still been growing frustrated and weary of the constant thievery attempts. I've had some issues with security at my boat lately. I really have. I've got 2 otters that are coming on board onto my boathouse, and they're trying to build some nests. They're depositing shells, they're depositing pieces of wood, they're depositing whatnot. It's a constant battle. I got to toss all their stuff in the water. I spray some, anti-rodent stuff down, and we're working through it. We've got all these bug things and rodent things plugged into outlets to send out this sound, and it's not working. That's the worst of my concerns in Seattle. But, I could very easily see people getting that idea. Oh, they got stuff on boats. Let's go steal it. Yeah, I can see that. We've had one incident of theft from the boat, and it was because we had a big inflatable, one of those things where you can fit like 15 people on a floaty. We had that, and they stole, I think, some of the hardware for the big floaty from a box that was right by the front door. So, stuff happens. Stuff happens. It's Seattle. We've all gotten to the point where we know there's going to be no response from the police, DeLong said, according to the Chronicle. Piracy is the only way I can think of describing the situation. How about theft on the waterfront? How about theft on the water? It was interesting that the drug addicts that stole the one dude's boat, apparently they knew how to run the boat. I mean, that's a twin engine. That's not it probably didn't have bow thrusters, meaning it didn't have jets on the front that kind of allow you to push the boat one way or the other to dock it easily. So maybe that's how it ended up on the rocks, right? All right, send it into reverse. Oops. And they just floor it and it goes up on the rocks like you saw there. Others apparently agree. West told CBS News that we don't even bother to call the police anymore. This is one of the reasons I'm reading this story. We don't even bother to call the police anymore, and that we're going to handle it ourselves. More and more instances of people having to take the law into their own hands because there's nobody else to do it. And it's not necessarily vigilante justice, like, like the Charles Bronson and like the Dirty Harry, however you want to, quantify that. It's not the vigilante justice. It's normal citizens arming themselves with, what did we say here again? And I'm always kind of interested, when they throw out the fact that you got to have a sword. You have a gun, a knife, or a sword, or a stick or something. I had to talk with my my office manager. Hey, read this story. You got some criminal activity, not near your house, but in the general area. Do you still keep that bat at your front door? And she's, we kind of walked through that. I'm like, good. Because I think a lot of folks, they don't want to have a gun in the household for whatever reason. A bat? Yeah, you can do some bad damage with an aluminum bat, right? You swing that bad boy hard enough at somebody's head, it's going to give them a headache. So we're going to handle it ourselves, is what people are saying. Oakland reportedly only has one full-time officer who knows how to operate a boat and protect its water. Officer Khalil Albino. Fighting crime out here on the water is tough, as we only have one full-time Marine officer. And that's myself, Albino told CBS News. That is shocking, because Oakland has some big waterways, some big inland waterway inlets, right? But the City of Oakland Police Department, we tend to make things work with what we have out of necessity, I'm sure. And I've been training approximately 10 other maritime officers on how to operate the vessel. So the vessel is available more hours than just myself being here. Well, I would hope so, because Oakland's pretty big, right? Officer Albino told the San Francisco Chronicle that he's observed theft spiking in Oakland's waters over the last 6 weeks, and he's organized night patrols to help bring the crime to a heel. But he's had to deal with limited staffing and the fact that the Bay Area is vast, making it easy to hide. Get in, get out. This doesn't surprise me as a news story in one bit. Let's just finish out here. The pirates are just taking advantage of our response times, Albino said. I mean, makes total sense, right? I mean, the criminal, people say crime doesn't pay. It does. And right now it pays really well because the odds are stacked in the criminal's favor. You don't have enough cops. Even in San Francisco's waterways, you don't have enough cops, because historically you haven't needed that many cops. You send them out to, a couple of boat incidences, somebody's drunk and hit somebody else and you got a major issue, or boat goes down. But oftentimes you'll have that call be over the CB or whatever. And, boat US will be out there hauling somebody up. There's a lot of help on the waterways. The Coast Guard, they're there, Johnny on the spot most of the time as well. But for this stuff where it's literally, local police issue, because it's not even off the coast, it's inland or inlet somewhere, that you've got all these little waterways and that kind of thing. So what they're talking about is you could steal a boat and boom, gone, and they wouldn't catch you. But, why do that if you can just drive a car and jack somebody's car? And that's what the vast majority of crime in Oakland has been. But I would expect this storyline to keep on going, because it's kind of like when that first incident happens, other criminals are like, oh, yeah. Oh, they had guns on their boat. Oh, hey now. Oh, we can go do our drugs in a boat and nobody would even know. Somebody gets in your boat, you're host. They're going to destroy it. There's not much you can do. And it's pretty easy to destroy a boat. I mean, you hammer on it enough and there's enough expensive components where insurance is just going to say, no, we're going to write that one off. We're going to cut you a check for whatever. You go buy your replacement boat and you go down that road. Doesn't take much to just absolutely, destroy one of these bad boys, as the owner that we saw kind of walked through. The bleach on the cushions, that just shows such a lack of respect. It's like, did you really need to do that? I mean, how high were you when you did that? You like to catch those folks and, take that baseball bat and, do some rearranging of facial configurations. That seems fair. You ruin my couch, I ruin your face. I don't think that's a bad trade. But no, this storyline guaranteed, this just keeps going. because it's an opportunity for these criminals. And the bottom line is you don't have enough cops to make a dent in it. Same thing with San Francisco. Same thing with Oakland. Same thing with Portland. Same thing with Seattle. You don't have enough law enforcement. And this is a real specific example of law enforcement where it's just maritime police officers, whatever it is. You either have them or you don't, because you only got so many boats usually. And usually the budget isn't super high because all the resources go to the cops out on the streets handling, public safety other than the boating community or the maritime community or whatever it might be. All right. That's it for me, but expect more stories about pirates. Maybe not just in Oakland, wherever they happen to be. Hey, if you see a story on pirates, send it to me on our Discord channel on Reasonable Plus. There's a spot under podcast stories. You can go there. There's a bunch of there's a fun place, fun stuff. You can post fun stuff. Check out our Discord channel. It's free. Reasonable Plus. Got cool stuff going on there. Thanks for being part of News for Reasonable People. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.